You have this nice little checklist, but I'm talking about reality here, Chris. I'm talking about the real deal. A lot of people go to day two and and there's no data there. What do you do if that happens?
Oh, um, okay. Good question. It's a good question. Absolutely could be reality. Number one,
Checklist inside a checklist.
check. Yeah, double checklist here. So day one, double the bids maybe, and then if you don't have anything on day one, maybe possibly double the bids. Number two, try broad. Go to broad.
Okay.
That might be good.
Let me also throw out, check your ads. If there's any, if you're maybe all your ads got disapproved, you're not running. Hey, did you forget to put your credit card in there? Google's a very friendly, down to earth company. But if you don't put the credit card in there, well, that happens a lot with advertisers. They're like, let's go. And then we start running and there's no credit card. And I'm like, okay, well, Google does, we're running a business here. They need their credit card. And then if you're running a maximize bids or maximize clicks, you're running a maximize clicks strategy. Check the status on the campaign level. It might still say learning. And if you don't have any data, but everything's approved and your credit card is in there, but you didn't get any impressions after one day under maximize clicks, I could see that happening with the learning status that it sits under for sometimes a couple days. So assuming you did get data, Chris, what do you do on day two?
Okay, so these next items I'm going to list are going to be very repetitive, so we don't have to hit them every time, but it's important that I say them every day because this is really what you do. And Jason, if someone were to ask, Jason, what do you do? You say you're Google Ads Manager, what do you do? I could probably isolate exactly what we do. I look at search terms. I look at search terms. Like, that's really what we do. And that is number one on the list for every single day after this. Check search terms. Check your search terms. And, okay, you say, well, what am I checking, Chris? Well, you're checking to make sure that you're getting what you expect. If you want a certain kind of quality, is that represented in the search terms that are coming from the keywords? And I don't go into further details about, how to fix that, but that is the checklist of how to run a new Google Ads. Check the search terms and make sure you're happy with the quality.
Day two is Christmas morning, and you're opening up your presents under the tree. You're seeing what you got, on your search terms. Let's say you don't like some of those search terms. Let's say some of them are like, oh yeah, I'm a moving company and people are looking for a mover in Dallas. But then some of them are, oh, why am I showing up on a search for this competitor? Or why am I showing up on a search for moving on lyrics? I don't like these search terms. What do you do at that point?
Yeah. Step two. And again, this is going to be repeated. Add negative keywords. Now, you say, okay, that's a very blanket statement. How do I add those negative keywords? Again, we've talked about this before, but I want this to be a checklist that isn't, completely extensive. It's going to be something that's manageable, but
checklist.
It's a checklist. This isn't a full step-by-step guide.
Yeah.
When you add a negative keyword, you really have two options. You can add something that is multiple words and add something that is one singular word. And I add broad match. I add broad match negative keywords. So if you say, well, Chris, I only have 15 minutes in the day to do this, I would say use that 15 minutes to add a couple broad match negative keywords. And what I mean by that is if you are doing, you mention movers all the time, Jason. So if you're doing movers and you don't do office moves and you see office terms coming in, add the word office as a negative keyword. Don't worry about all the exact negatives and stuff like that. Just do the word office and move on. Real simple. This is day two. You got the rest of your life to improve this. Get something done on day two.
Yeah, a lot of people see those search terms, they check them, then they add them as a default, which is an exact match negative. So, Chris, you mentioned you have the choice to add the amount of words on a negative keyword, a one-word negative keyword to catch a lot of things, or like the full phrase. You also have the choice of match type, and you mentioned broad match. And what you're trying to do early on when you add negative keywords is you're trying to cast a wide net to block a whole lot of stuff you don't want. And if you add the full keyword, multiple words, the full keyword is exact match, you're only going to block that keyword. And then the next day, something else is similar could sneak through. So you're trying to cast a wide net and just ask yourself, would I to stick with the office example, am I okay blocking any search that includes the word office forever? And if you are, then add office as a one word broad match negative keyword, and it'll block any search. It will block any search that includes office going forward. So Chris, then you've looked at your search terms, you've added some negative keywords very quickly. It doesn't have to take a long time to try to catch a lot of bad things.
Good
and
point.
then
Quick,
doesn't have
easy.
to take long. So you have a couple more minutes. Now you're looking at the positive side of things. Add keywords if needed. What do you mean by that?
Yeah, because this is not necessarily something that I think everybody needs to do. Certainly day 2, you may not find something that's better. And you say, Chris, how do I know if I need to add a keyword? And I've isolated down to 2 reasons why to add a keyword. For me, it's either based on value or value or risk. Okay. So value would be this. If I'm advertising on phrase match movers near me, and then I see a search come in that says large home movers near me, right? And that's kind of a weird search, but let's say that implies that it's a very wealthy neighborhood, large, 5,000 square foot, something for you, Jason, a small home, but
Sure.
large home move. This is a value improvement. You're like, oh, that's good. If that's getting searched, that's a value for me. Okay, so you would add that as an exact match keyword because you want to target that. On the other hand, risk. If the phrase match movers near me matches for just the word movers, single, by itself, that is a risk factor. That is a point of a keyword that is higher risk. So I don't want to block that. I don't want to stop it, but I want to limit it. So then I add that as an exact match, just the word movers by itself, and I might put a lower bid on that. So that's why you add keywords. And again, this is a repeating process. Check search terms, add negative keywords, add new keywords. These 3 things you'll hear us say over and over again. And that's how you decide if you add new keywords, value and risk.
Okay, so just to clarify, when you said check the search terms, first thing you do on day 2, and then you said add negative keywords, obviously based on looking at your search terms, are you also meaning that you're adding keywords based on what you see in the search terms report?
Yes.
Like okay, so the entire day 2 up till now so far is step 1 search terms, and then step 2 negative keywords, and step 3 positive keywords. But it all stems steps
from
2 and 3. It stems from the data you see on the search terms report.
Yes. Thank you for clarifying. Yes. Everything I've talked about so far is all stemming from search terms. Yeah, absolutely.
Okay, and then number 4 here, adjust bids.
And
To what and why?
Yeah. So this is a correction that is in place here if you didn't spend your full budget, or you didn't spend any budget, or like you notice that and we're going to get more into this a little bit later, but on day 2, if you see that you got like 3 clicks and you're like, oh my gosh, I way overdid this, I was expecting more, adjust bids accordingly. If you if you really blew it out really fast and you're not happy with what you got, try lowering. You might want to look at your positions just to kind of see, if you saw a really high first position percentage, then maybe lower it. But again, this kind of thinking comes a little bit later into day 4, 5, and 6.
Yeah, I'm going to add the word maybe after adjust bids. Adjust bids maybe. Yeah, because I don't see anything wrong with maybe not adjusting bids after just
absolutely
one or 2 days, or actually 1 day of full data. One final thing there, Chris. You can look at your position data, absolute top percentage columns, but you can also look at your cost per click and your budget usage. So if your cost per click is very high compared to your daily budget and you use your full daily budget, that might be a sign that you can go down a little. If your cost per click is very low compared to your daily budget and you barely used any of your daily budget, that's a sign maybe you could go higher. Just some things to look at before you have a ton of position data to rely on.
Yeah, it's a good point because it does get more complex as we go down through the days. So yeah, that's a good point without getting into other more complicated metrics. So yeah, and
okay, so that
took us 30 minutes. So we've got another 23 and a half hours.